snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys! Today is the 29th of May and I'm here today to do my May wrap up. I read quite a lot in May, not quite as much as some of the other months that I've been reading this year, but still a substantial amount, so much so that I am again going to split my wrap up into two parts. I have the novels and novellas, which is this part, and then I will also do a separate wrap up video for the graphic and single issue things that I read in the month of May, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that one. It will be coming very soon. I actually managed to read 17 books and I DNF'd one. So I'm going to go from lowest to highest, but before I get started, May was a really busy month for me. It was the end of uni officially. I handed everything in. I already did a video talking about that. I also started a second channel, which I'll link below if you guys haven't seen it already. And I also had an operation, which I had a few days ago. I've just sort of got over that and been recovering from that. It was an operation on my ears to help me hear, in case you are wondering, and yeah, luckily it was a one-day thing and it all seemed to go smoothly and I've recovered really well from it so far, so hopefully that continues, and once I have my checkup, hopefully it's all fine. Because of that, and because of deadlines and because of life generally, I have been a little bit busy in the last few weeks of May, and the second half in particular has been kind of chaotic with like various work things and various other stuff coming up, which has been good and bad and kind of not great for reading. However, I definitely think that June is going to be a good month for reading because I have the degree show for my degree, and besides that I don't really have any other plans. I'm moving home in the end of June, so I'll be back with all of my books, which is really exciting, and I just can't wait to sort of go back and start looking for a proper job full-time and really hopefully start my life, which will be really exciting. All of that happened, and because of that, reading kind of suffered slightly, but I still feel like I did a really good reading month. So, as a little start thing, when I came home from my operation 2 days ago, I actually found this waiting for me on the bed, which was very exciting. Now, you may or may not know that I have a housemate who is also a YouTuber. If you're not subscribed to her already, you 100% should be, and I think she's lovely. It is Charlotte from Char Freyers. I will link her channel below. If you haven't already subscribed, please go and do so because I really love her. We get on so well. We haven't filmed very many videos together because we suck, but hopefully we're going to be filming some more in the next few weeks before I move back home, and you might see them coming up. But she really kindly got this little bag of goodies for me to just say, I hope you feel better soon, and in it was the first 15 lives of Harry August, which I'm so excited about because I've heard so many good things about this from various different people. I think I remember Amanda from Amanda Eggle talking about this, and a couple of other people said that they really enjoyed it, so I'm definitely interested in this one. I believe it's one of those ones where it's kind of a repetitive story, and it says it's about time travel as well, so that sounds really interesting. This cover, I mean, is beautiful. It's just really cool. As you can see, it's all kind of made up with dots, and I love it, and I'm really grateful to Charlotte for getting this for me, and I really hope that I can get to this soon. It's not too long, so fingers crossed I can. It's beautiful though, so that's really exciting. Of course, she knows me very well, and so she got me some chocolate, which I love. Dairy milk is my favourite. Absolutely wonderful, can't wait to nibble on this whilst I'm reading some books. And she also got me this really sweet little card which she wrote in and said that she hopes I feel better soon, and luckily I am feeling pretty good, so I thought it was a really kind gesture and I just wanted to share that with you guys before I started my wrap up. So thank you so much, Charlotte. Please go and check out her channel. As I said, I will link it down below. Also, before I start, I've been toying with the idea of starting to do Friday reads and weekly wrap-ups instead of monthly wrap-ups. I might still do monthly wrap-ups. If I do weekly, I'm not really sure. How does this work? What do you guys do? Do you want to see Friday reads? Do you want to see wrap-ups, weekly wrap-ups, monthly wrap-ups? What do you want to see? Let me know in the comments because I'm kind of toying with the idea of changing things up a little bit now that uni is over. Also, if you've got any ideas for cover chat, let me know them below because I've also run out of pre-filmed cover chats, which is great. So now I can start actually making them again, and hopefully you guys will have some really great ideas. I've already got Harry Potter on the list, so I'm sure that that one is going to happen at some point, and it's going to be crazy because there are so many covers, so I might have to do that in 2 parts or something. But if you've got other ideas for covers that you really like, or if you just have any cover designers that you're interested in, or any cover artists or cover designs that you've seen that you really love, please link them below, link them to me on Twitter, wherever you want, just let me know about them. Okay, without further rambling, let's get on with the wrap up. I'm going to go quickly through this. I'm just going to tell you my rating and I'm going to go from lowest to highest. So let's get started. The very first book I actually DNF'd. I wasn't a big fan of this. I won this in a competition and it sounded like exactly my sort of thing. It's called Being a Beast and it's by Charles Foster. Unfortunately, when I started reading it, I really wasn't a fan of his writing style. It was really pretentious and I just did not get along with it. So I've actually given this one to Charlotte, my housemate, and I will not be continuing with it. I read about, I don't even know, like 30-40 pages and I just was not interested, so I gave that one to her and hopefully she will enjoy it more than I did. The next one I read was All the Birds in the Sky, which is by Charlie Jane Anders. I'd been really anticipating this one. It was one of my top ones for the year that I was excited about, and I read this with Eleanor from Eleanor Reads Books and we were both very eager because we'd heard very good things. I liked this and I thought the beginning was really great and I was so into the beginning, and then as the story went on I felt like it got more and more convoluted and by the end I just did not enjoy it anymore and it had lost the charm and excitement that I enjoyed at the beginning. So I gave that one a 2.5 out of 5 stars overall. It was still a likeable read, nothing particularly wrong with it, it just didn't end how it started and I felt disappointed coming away. The next one I read was also a buddy read with Eleanor. This is Underground and it's written by S.L. Gray, which is a collaboration between Sarah Lutz and Louis Greenberg. They together make up the author S.L. Gray. This is kind of reminiscent of Wool, that series, but I didn't feel like this one was as good. It was interesting, it kept me reading until the very end. I read it all in one sitting, but I felt like the actual reveal at the end was not very good. It's a dystopian and it's a mystery and it's interesting and exciting, but then it kind of, again, let me down at the ending. So again, I gave this a 2.5. It was okay, it wasn't really terrible, but it did leave me feeling disappointed. So, oh well. Hopefully Eleanor and I will get some good buddy reads coming up soon, because so far our buddy reads always seem to be not that great. The next one I have to show you is The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake. This is by Amy Bender and I was given this one as a gift by Mercedes, I think at Christmas time, and I really was excited to read this. I hadn't read any of Amy Bender's work and I definitely enjoyed her writing style. I thought that it was really nice, very evocative, very emotional. However, I did feel like the actual story itself didn't leave me with as much of an impression as some of the other magical realism type stories that I've read recently, and so although I really liked this and I thought it was good, it definitely didn't have the impact that some of the other people I've read recently did. And I think maybe if this had been my start point with magical realism I would have really enjoyed it, but because I've read a couple of other magical realism stories recently it wasn't as exciting as it could have been. However, that's not to say that I don't plan to pick up more of Amy Bender's work in the future. I definitely do, and I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. The next one I read I actually listened to on audio, and this is The Dragonbone Chair by Ted Williams. It's the first one in his Memory of Sorrow and Thorn, I think it's called, series, and I wanted to love this because of how much I loved Otherland. However, I didn't love this one that much. It had some great moments and it was so long, they were very few and far between. I think this is one of those books or one of those series where it's going to get better as it goes, and this book was a setup book. It definitely wasn't a standalone story. It feels like it's only just beginning when you get to the very end. So I'm hopeful as this goes on that I will start to see some really great character growth and really great imaginative ideas coming into the story. At the moment I don't have that, so I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. Very likeable, very easy read or easy listen, but I want a bit more from the story in the next book. Hopefully we'll get that. The next one I read is Arena by Holly Jennings. This one was very kindly sent to me by Ace because I requested it from them and it sounded really, really up my alley, and I definitely enjoyed this. I did this as a buddy read with Chelsea from the Reading Outlaw. We had a great time discussing this. It has some really interesting ideas within it, some really great character moments, and was definitely a read that I was really hooked to whilst I was reading it and very, very engaged with. I definitely would recommend this. I've already uploaded my review of this, so if you want to check it out you can, and I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars overall. Next one I read was actually for the Mental Health Awareness Readathon, which was happening in May, and I took part and I managed to read 3 books for it, so that was quite good within the week because I was very busy that week. So the first one was Monkey Mind, which is a memoir of anxiety, and this is by Daniel Smith, and I definitely was interested in this one because I don't know an awful lot about anxiety, and I was hoping that this one would give me a real insight. It definitely did. It was well written, it was easy to get through. I didn't feel like I got anything revolutionary from it or found out anything that I didn't really guess or know already, I suppose, but I really enjoyed hearing his story about his life, and I thought it was well written and easy to get through, so I gave that one a 3.5 out of 5 stars as well. The next one I read was a buddy read, and this one was a buddy read with Elizabeth from Books and Pieces and Chelsea from The Reading Outlaw, and we all read Prudence by Gail Carriger. I have to say, Gail Carriger is a phenomenal writer. I just really smile when I think about her books. She makes me really excited to carry on with the series, and I just really enjoy her world and her characters because they're so witty, so charming, so eloquent, and I really love that. And this book was no exception. It was a continuation of some of the other characters we've seen before when they are grown up and they have their own lives and their own adventures, and it was definitely the start of a series that I want to continue with, so I really enjoyed it. Definitely love going back to Gail Carriger's world, and I gave that one a 4 out of 5 stars overall. The next one that I read was an anthology collection, and this is a YA science fiction and fantasy diverse anthology. It's really interesting. There's lots of different contributors. I believe it won some prizes in Australia because it is mostly Australian authors, and I really enjoyed this. Kaleidoscope is such an interesting anthology. If you're looking for something that is going to have diverse characters who are not all your stereotypical white male straight character, then this is an anthology you should read. It's really interesting, has a lot of great stories, and I definitely think it's one that more people need to pick up or be aware of because it's so fantastic, and I discovered a few new authors from it that I really want to check out, so I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars overall as well. The next one I read was this tiny little penguin black classic, and this is O Frabjous Day by Lewis Carroll. It's a collection of about 50 pages of poetry, mostly nonsense poetry because it is Lewis Carroll who wrote Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, which is kind of batty, as we all know, and I really enjoyed this. I definitely knew that I would because I enjoy Lewis Carroll's writing style. I think he's just very witty, very funny, and very bizarre, and I kind of get lost in his magical, crazy worlds, and I really like that about him, so I give this a 4 out of 5 stars. Would highly recommend reading these aloud if you're going to be picking them up because I think that that really works for this collection. The next short story collection I read was by Patrika Tarrant. It was my first one by her, and it's her debut collection, I believe, and this is a collection of short stories. Again, I read this as part of the Mental Health Awareness Readathon, and I was recommended this by Jen from Jen Campbell. She said that these were some fabulous stories all to do with mental health, and they definitely are. The only issue I had with this collection was that some of the stories did blur together in my mind. However, I loved the writing style that Patrika Tarrant has, and I thought that these were some really interesting stories. Quite dark, quite twisted, maybe not for everyone, but if you're interested in reading something a little bit fairy tale-esque, a little bit gothic, a little bit dark, this has quite a lot of that. So if that appeals, maybe it's something you want to check out. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars, and I definitely want to pick up her novel very soon. The next one I read was Reason She Goes to the Woods. I actually put a Twitter poll on Twitter for this and a few other books, and this was the one that you guys chose for me to read. I'm so happy that you did because I loved this so much. It is dark, it is twisted, it is messed up, it is creepy, but it is wonderful, absolutely brilliant. It's about a young girl, and we kind of see her story of her life through her eyes, and it's really interesting because she goes through some dark stuff. She's quite strange as a child, and she's been influenced by her family who are also quite strange and quite creepy and bizarre. It's a really interesting book, and I absolutely fell in love with the writing style. In this, every page on the right hand side has the story, and every left hand side page has the title. Every chapter or story is linked, but they're all just a one-page story about a certain thing or a certain event or moment, and it all works so incredibly well. Would highly recommend you check this out. And this was the only reason that the Amy Bender book did not get as good a rating, because after reading this, I just fell in love with this, and I didn't think that all the other magical realism was going to live up to this, and unfortunately the Amy Bender one didn't, but this one was incredible and I loved it. So I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely recommend you check this out if it sounds like your sort of thing. Again, thinking about the kind of magical realism-esque story, this one is more of a mystery magical realism. It's kind of got parallels to places like Narnia with other portals and other worlds. I loved this. It's by Sean Ann Maguire, and it's just incredible. She is a fantastic writer. I'd never read anything by her before this, and I'm so desperate to read a lot more of her stuff now. I fell in love with this. I mean, the cover itself is beautiful anyway, but this is just a novella. It's really short, and it completely enchanted me whilst I was reading it. I fell in love with it, I was so absorbed, and I just felt like I was part of this story, and I wanted to know what was going to happen, and I really enjoyed the way that there was representation in this. There were some great characters who were asexual, who were transgender, and they just felt like part of the story. It wasn't forced, it was natural, it was beautifully done, and I would definitely recommend this one as well. Again, this one got a 4.5 out of 5 stars from me. The next one I read is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Of course, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. It's Harry Potter, what else do I need to say? Fabulous. I then read 2 Mary Brennan books, and I have to say I loved both of them. The first one I read was A Natural History of Dragons, and I have had this one on my shelf for ages. It is fantastic. If you want to read about badass ladies from sort of Victorian-esque era who are fighting the stereotype of what ladies were expected to do back then, and also who have a keen interest in science, who are educated, who are interesting, who talk about periods, who talk about lady problems, who talk about life, and who study dragons, this is the series you need to read. It definitely doesn't focus on the dragons. They're not mythical creatures, they're more like scientific ones that are there to be studied. But my goodness, the lady feelings and the lady emotions that were in this book were so on point and so fabulous, and I have fallen in love with the main character from this series. I adore her. She's fantastic. I've been listening to these on audio as well, and they are fantastically narrated, so I would definitely recommend that you get either the book or the audiobook. If you do get the book, you get illustrations. If you get the audiobook, you get an audiobook. So either way is good. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. It was fantastic, and I have been reading these kind of in tandem with Elizabeth from Books and Pieces and Chelsea from the Reading Outlaw, and we've all been loving them. They're fantastic, so fantastic, so I would highly recommend you check this series out. Naturally, of course, I then went on to the second book in the series. Again, it's by Marie Brennan, and this one is called The Tropic of Serpents, and I'll show you guys what I meant about some of the illustrations within. You get illustrations like this, and then the text on this page, and that really adds to the immersion, I think, because they're not that many illustrations, but it's nice when you do come across one, because it's kind of as though it's like Isabella's diary, and we're kind of seeing her travel memoirs, and I really, really enjoy that. So, of course, this one also got 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm hoping to start the third one super soon because I love this series. It's so good. The next one I read was Nothing to Envy by Barbara Demick, Ordinary Lives in North Korea. I read this one because it was gifted to me by Chelsea at Christmas, thank you Chelsea, and I have been meaning to pick it up since then really, because I read In Order to Live with Chelsea and Eleanor, and we all got so emotionally invested, we all cried, and it was just eye-opening. It was really eye-opening. This book was no exception. This was also completely eye-opening to me. It was fantastically written, so emotional, so interesting. It was a weaving of various different people and their stories. It is non-fiction, so it does tell the story of real people's lives, and it is just fantastic. Barbara Demick was a reporter who went to North Korea and met some of the people who turned up in South Korea, and she kind of talked to them and got their stories, and I definitely would highly recommend this to everyone. It is eye-opening, it is wonderful, it is so important to read this. It's just fantastic, so I would definitely recommend that you check this one out. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm definitely on the lookout for not only more of Barbara Demick's work, because I know she's got one other book out, but also any other non-fiction kind of in the same vein as this. If you know anything, let me know, because I fell in love with this book. It was so good, so good. So that's that one. And then the final one that I have to talk to you guys about is again one I read for the Mental Health Awareness Readathon, and this one is called Brain on Fire, My Month of Madness, and I just fell in love with this in a terrible way. It's again non-fiction, and it's again a memoir talking about the life of this lady, and it was heart-wrenching, it was emotional, it was terrifying to read this. It's basically about this lady who she goes through this horrible experience. One day she's kind of normal, everything's fine, her life is quite happy, she's a charming individual and she's got a good job and she's happy with where she is in life. And then things just start to happen to her. She just starts getting these blackouts, she doesn't remember things, she doesn't really worry too much, but then eventually she starts to worry a little bit and goes to the doctor and is told, nothing's wrong, don't worry, you're not having anything, like just calm down, it's probably just a fever or something. And things just go from bad to worse, and she just gets into the point where she's hospitalized for a very long time, over a month, and people are trying to diagnose her, and it's very, very difficult to diagnose because she isn't herself at the time. She can't really talk to people and tell them how she's feeling. It's all messed up inside her head, and reading from her point of view how it was and what she experienced was so emotionally charged. I cannot recommend this higher to you. It's fantastic, definitely worth reading if you're interested in mental health, if you're interested in psychosis and you want to know about other people's stories. This is fantastic, and again, one I would hugely recommend that you pick up and try out. So again, of course, I gave that 5 out of 5 stars. Those are all of the books I have been reading. I think you'll agree that I've had a fairly good range this month, not only science fiction and fantasy, but also some really interesting non-fiction reads. And I'm really getting into non-fiction recently, and some of them have been so insightful and magical to read. And I say magical not because they have magic, but because they're just eye-opening and crazy, and it's weird and wonderful to find out more about our world and the conditions of science within it, and illness and life and everything. It's just so good to open my eyes to it and hopefully embrace the non-fiction a bit more, and hopefully that will continue. I've ordered a lot of non-fiction books, and when I move home in June, there will be a giant haul, like giant, because I kind of ordered a lot when I was celebrating finishing uni. So that will be coming in the next few weeks. I don't move home till the 18th of June, so it'll be some time after that, but keep your eyes open for that because it's coming. Also, of course, the second part of my wrap-up will be here with the graphic novels and single issues that I read, so keep your eyes open for that. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been a long one, but I would love to hear any thoughts you have on the cover chats, on the wrap-ups, on the weekly wrap-ups, on the Friday reads, on general non-fiction that you recommend, just pretty much anything that I've mentioned in this video. Leave me loads of comments below. I really want to chat to you guys. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.